Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata, Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cop. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata, Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cop. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
You ready? Box let me go now. Hear me sing now. Body walk, body walk, body walk, everything. Body walk, truck, body walk.
If you don't want your because we're excited to see you here. You're coming.
Take responsibility. accountability. We want you to look out for us. We do not want no segregation. No. We are one people. And if we're going to do it, let's do it together because we have respect for you.
All right, good evening. We are broadcasting live from Brooklyn. Good night to all of you on Church Avenue, all of you on Utica Avenue. And remember, we are still fighting for Utica Avenue to be codenamed Guyana Avenue. Remember, that's the struggle, that's the fight, Guyana Avenue. And that's what we are fighting. We have been fighting for over the past year or so. Guyana Avenue. Just imagine how proud all Brooklynites from Guyana would be proud. All of those businesses that have contributed way back in the days of Georgetown Food Market and Ann Blue law firm. Many of you probably would remember Ann Blue, a young lawyer, real estate lawyer, competent, and did a lot of good work in the community. Her dad, the late John Blue, as well, right there on Church Avenue. And then all those other clubs, Guyana Roti House. How many of you guys remember Guyana Roti House days? Guyana Roti House. Yep. It was actually owned by some relatives of mine. And then there is, what is it? Sybil's Restaurant and all those other places. Sterling Optical on Church Avenue. How many of you guys know Sterling Optical on Church Avenue and that Sterling Optical? Country Optical. Yeah, some of those. Anyways, Sterling Optical on Flatbush Avenue, owned by a Guyanese. Yep. Edgar Henry. Good night if you're watching. And scores of other Guyanese businesses. Scores of other Guyanese businesses. Then you had Salt and Pepper. How many of you guys remember Salt and Pepper, right? Obliquely opposite Biltmore Ballroom. And then well, they were just a couple, maybe two buildings away from Sparks. How many of you know Sparks, right? And that's taking you guys back, way back in the days, right, of Brooklyn and the contributions made by all those business people. They did a heck of a lot for Guyana. Lots and lots they did for Guyana. Kudos to all those people. Some of those businesses are not around, but most of them are still with us. Georgetown Food Market is out in Atlanta. Respect to Doreen and Delon and those guys out there. And then there was Tilden Ballroom. How many of you guys? I'm just reminiscing for the time being at all those businesses that have been there and did a heck of a lot for the community. And then Hector, that owned, he's now passed on, a nice guy. Those are guys who did a lot for the community. Hector was once, he was the owner of Tilden Ballroom, a Guyanese. And of course you have, Woodbine. Woodbine has been around for a while. And those are people who have done a heck of a lot. But you don't hear them boasting and bragging. Oh, they did. Sorry, I'm making my mouth open. Those are people who have been with us for decades upon decades and decades. Lily's, yeah. If I don't mention one of the businesses, and those long-time businesses, Utica Printing House, Eddie. Oh gosh, man, all of those folks have been around for a while. Yes, Francis Edwards, Cookie from Sybil's. Sybil's is now in Queens as well. And the family started another business out in on Flatbush Avenue. I think it's called Tropicals or something like that. So, and then Palm's Bakery. I caught myself for a quick second. Club Roti. Look, we've just got to get back on track, man. The community has been so rich. It's been healthy in so many ways. But those who are considered to be the enablers, yes, then Denise Samuels, I did say Salt and Pepper. Can't rule out, can't leave Salt and Pepper alone. Can't leave Peter's Shipping. How many of you know Peter's Shipping? Right at the corner at Woodbine there on Bedford and Church Avenue. And then they have Williams Shipping too, right? They split up now, a couple brothers. Norris Williams, the founder of Williams Shipping, a good guy. He's now passed on. And then on Nostrum, and they had Winter Shipping and all these things. But I say all of this to say that Brooklyn is rich, rich. Brooklyn is foundation. And so we can't give up on Brooklyn. But we also cannot allow the oppressors to just walk into Brooklyn like that and expect. And then the enablers think that all is going to be well. Island Express, thank you, Fideli. Island Express, I say tropical, but it's Island Express, yeah. And so all is not well. The enablers have to go back to the community and apologize to the community. If they want to play hardball, well, then we're going to play hardball too, because the boycott continues. Story done. Regardless of how you twist it, how you turn it, story done. Story done. That's it. It's done. The boycott continues until those people, the enablers, come out publicly and say that they are sorry. If they don't want to say that they're sorry, well, then what do you expect us to do? What do you guys expect us to do? What do you guys expect us to do? We've got to continue to pass those businesses. Story done. For a moment, I forgot because I kept talking and talking. We have a special guest tonight. If any one of you guys tell me who that special guest is, I will give you guys a clean roti from a nice, clean kitchen. Let me go in 30 seconds. 30 seconds, tell me who this guest is. 30 seconds. I want you guys to tell me. I'm not going to have this guest waiting at all. Going once, going twice. You guys got to tell me who this guest is tonight, this special guest. Special guest. Going once. Somebody said Apostle London or Auntie Vashni. Somebody said Burke. I said special guest and you said Burke? I'm just playing around with Burke, but no, it's not Burke. It's not Burke. If it was Burke, it wasn't going to be special. Let me leave Rickford alone. Somebody's asking if it's Caesar. Oh, Caesar gonna be special guest, right? Y'all and all. Not Anderson, not Rhonda. All right, let's don't delay. And somebody said the opposition leader. Somebody said Dr. David Hines. All right, so whoever said Dr. David Hines is correct. They get a loaf of bread or a roti. Dr. Hines, good night. How are you, sir?
Good night, Mark. I'm fine. A little bit tired, but duty calls, so I have no option than to concur.
Absolutely. And let me say to our listeners that I just moments ago called Dr. David Hines and say, Dr. Hines, you're needed tonight. Tonight we are talking about protests and how important protests are in any country. Standing up against an oppressive regime, we cannot rule protesting out at all. It cannot be ruled out. And that is why I invited Dr. David Hines to be with me tonight. Tomorrow night will be Lincoln Lewis, veteran trade unionist. Lincoln Lewis is going to be on tonight. And let us just take this moment to welcome the most popular, well, Buxton get a set of popular people. Dr. David Hines laughing. I said, because I see some Buxtonians in the audience, so I gotta behave myself. I can't say anything about Buxton. Dr. Hines, good night, sir. How have you been?
Well, keep on keeping on, being inspired every day to keep going because there's always something that is happening and our people are always doing things, whether it's Miss Vashti, whether it's the teachers, whoever, they're always inspiring you to get up and to live for another day and to keep the struggle going. So I'm not complaining.
Thank you so much, and I'm glad that you've mentioned those names. Of course, Vashti, and then you have Auntie Data. And I reached out so that to see how those folks are doing, and they're doing pretty well. And also the teachers. Let me say good night. I've noticed that the Bostonians are in the house. Denise Booker is saying, Dr. Hines, don't kill yourself. Right away, always picking up for you. And then we have Miss Simon. Desiree Simons is saying, oh, wonderful. Everybody's saying wonderful because of Dr. David Hines. We might as well just make this the David Hines show and done. Eh? Because I'm feeling a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie. So, Dr. Hines, it's good to have you in the house here tonight with us, and to all of our wonderful or beautiful listeners, wherever you are, good night. It's really good to see all of you. Thank you all for sharing the link. Well, tonight we're going to share some links. Before we get into the protest and how protests are important, let me just give you guys this bit of a news that Dharam Lal was arrested this morning. Well, he was detained. He drove into the police compound, and the police shielded him for some inexplicable reason, but we already know to some extent. And so he was moments ago placed on $500,000 bail. Let's begin right here, Dr. Hines. You're not surprised that he turned himself in early this morning, as of course we talked about it last night on the program, and it was predicted. One, you're not surprised that he turned himself in, and two, are you surprised that he was actually sent home today on bail?
No, I'm not surprised that he was sent home on bail. That's a given. That's how they operate. Meaning the government, the PPP. But I want to spend more time on the fact that he actually turned himself in, because I think we have to keep saying to our people every day that this question of struggle and whether you're winning or losing is a very dynamic and complex process. I am betting you my last dollar, and it's not much. I can't afford to give away dollars, but I can bet you my last dollar that if there were no Mark Benchop and Kadaki Amsterdam and Sherrod Duncan and Paul Slough and others, if they were not these programs, he would not have turned himself in. If the Guyana Press Association had not summoned the courage to write to the police and to ask them what's going on, that man would not have been arrested. I'm making the point, if there were no opposition, and by opposition I mean here the larger, wider opposition, if there was no opposition, that man would not have turned himself in and life would have gone on. I'm saying that to say that the question of protest and struggle, which is what you asked me to come on to talk about tonight, is an essential part of the human instinct. And the organization of human society, protest is as basic. And if there were no protests, in this case, there wasn't street protests, although the teachers are on the street, but the teachers are on the street for their business. But the fact of these social media programs on which a lot of protests take place, as it is being done now, we are protesting as we are here tonight. This man would not have been arrested. And so I just want to say to our supporters that you have to claim victories, because if you were not around, if you all were right now, in front of your TV watching some movie rather than being on a program like this, and keeping with it, this man would not have turned himself in and go through the legal process. So I just wanted to say that he is there. He has turned himself into the system because of us, because of you. So do not underestimate the importance of protest. Do not underestimate it. Yeah.
Absolutely, cannot underestimate it. And the people on social media, because this new media outlet, so to speak, social media, has been helpful in so many ways. It has been the opposition to the PPP. The PPP knows that. That is why Jack Deere kept saying that he's calling on his supporters to counter those of us on social media. They have not been able to do that. They wouldn't be able to do that. It's not going to happen at all. And so I'm glad that we are on the subject here, because had it not been for programs like Straight Up, programs like yours, Dr. David Hines, and others, I'm not sure what would have happened. Cat would have eaten our dinner and the people's dinners out in Guyana, because this is where you see the aggression. This is where you see the exposure. This is where you see the confrontation of the oppressors, the PPP oppressors. And I agree with you again, Dr. Hines, that even those brave ones on social media who are up every single day, not only watching the shows, but they're commenting and they're making these posts on their own pages. They're not afraid to stand up and confront the evil regime in Guyana, including folks like Auntie Data, Auntie Vashti, and so forth. And I say kudos to those who have a microphone and understand the issues politically and confront those issues. Kudos to them. Kudos to all of them. We might not be able to call all of their names, but kudos to them. But as expected, that he was going to turn himself in this morning, he did. And as expected as well, they were going to place him on bail because they wouldn't want him to spend a night in the lockups. They feel that this guy is so special. Well, in a way, he has to go home. But had it been someone else, what is your take? Had it been someone else? 72 hours, right, Dr. Hines?
Yes. 72 hours, and they would not have been placed on bail because this offense is an indictable offense. I assume that he's on station bail because he has not been passed through court. And one can say for station bail, that's an exorbitant sum. But given this man's station in life, that's a small sum. That's a small sum. But the rest of us would have stayed there for 72 hours, and our lawyers would have had to apply for habeas corpus to get us, because they would have let us out after 72 hours and then rearrest us immediately after until our lawyers could get to go to court to file habeas corpus. And so therefore what we see here is a privilege that is granted to some people, and the privilege, of course, is denied to the rest of us. And so this here is the police using the police process as a way of ensuring that privilege is granted to this person.
And privilege has been granted again. He's not spending the night in the lockups, and if it was any other person, that person would have spent the 72 hours. And then, of course, they passed a law under the PPP extending the hours from 48 hours to 72 hours. And there was some objection to that. The PPP ignored it. And so now they can legally hold someone, a suspect, for 72 hours. But that is only just for certain individuals in society. And then when the 72 hours is up, they apply for an extension in the High Court to hold that person for another 72 hours. But let me just remind some folks, I'm not sure if you can recognize anyone here. David, Dr. Hines?
Yes, I'm seeing is Lincoln. I'm seeing Lincoln. I'm seeing Lincoln. Who else is there? Well, I recognize Lincoln.
Good.
Yes.
The guy, let me see if anybody in the audience is able to recognize those three persons standing there at Brigham Police Station, just about to go into the lockups for a 72-hour stint in the lockups, a filthy lockup. And this is for protesting. The guy in the middle with that big pants, because I had to take off my belt.
Oh, it's you.
And the shoes, I believe, I borrow it, right? And the guy in the red shirt is Norris Witter.
It's Norris. That's what I saw. Norris, yes.
Yep, there are people who were able to recognize the big pants guy in the middle. That's me with my belt off, and Norris Witter. Now, the point I'm making, this was a protest in front of the commissioner's office, the commissioner of police office This was it. Look at this. It says here, and this was back in 2009. It says Louis Benchop Witter arrested over picketing. The trio was booked on allegations of illegal picketing, disorder behavior, resisting arrest, and assaulting a peace. Those were the regular trumped-up charges. But the point I'm making, 3 nights we spent at the Brickdam lockup. So picketing 3 nights. But this guy is accused of raping a young woman, and he's released on station bail. How unfair this can be in society, Dr. Hines?
Yes, this is as far as it has gone. I said earlier tonight in my program and that I have been around politics now since the 1970s, 50 years. And I have protested against all the governments that we've had. And I've also had the opportunity to study at the level of the academy governments. And this present government is a different kettle of fish. It's like none other government. And I'm saying that our governments in the Caribbean are by their very nature authoritarian. But this PPP government is something else. You know, it's a group of stubborn people. It's a group of people who believe that the way you run a democracy is that you beat your opponents into submission. It's a government that has no care about inflaming ethnic tensions in the society. It's a government that is about to push to this. I am theorizing that the PPP's endgame here is that they want to push African people on the streets and to test the police and the army when they give the order to shoot us, to shoot black people. They want to test whether the army and the police are loyal to them and the hierarchy of those forces. I think that's their end game, because when you, any of the other previous leaders, any of them from Burnham come right through, would have found ways and means to avert a confrontation. What we see there is a government that is looking for a confrontation at all costs. A government that is disobeying the very court that is here to mediate conflict in the society. So this is a government that strives on conflict and is pushing the envelope to test its theories. And I think one of the things that it's aiming for is to see whether the army and the police are going to shoot at black people. And I think they're pushing the confrontation to test that. I'm theorizing that because I can think of no other reason why this government does not look for a way out. Look at the police thing. Look at the police thing. The teacher story. The teachers have pushed them to conciliation. No, they should have gone to conciliation since last year. They were written to by the teachers union. They didn't go to conciliation. Now, after all the going around, they decide it's conciliation time. They wait until Sunday when everybody's out at Mother's Day dinner and doing the Mother's Day, and then they sneak in. And under normal circumstances, they say the teachers have won a great victory. But they go and they begin the conciliation. But what they're doing, they are stalling the conciliation by being unreasonable in what they're asking. The terms of resumption, they're not even trying to meet the teachers halfway. Their position is that you have to come off the street. We are not negotiating from 2019. So even when they agree to conciliation and we are clapping our hands in a normal society, you will clap your hands and say, great victory for the teachers. But they go into that conciliation and they're trying to do as they did last month to derail it. And that's the kind of government. This is a government that's not behaving like a normal government.
Certainly not behaving like a normal government. Dr. David Hines is with us this evening. We're talking about protest, and how protest actions are important to stand up against any oppressive, corrupt, and racist regime. And this is what our discussion is all about. Welcome if you've just joined us. We do not see, this may be the first opposition that we are hardly seeing any sort of protest action from being sanctioned by the leadership or the leadership level. What is your take on that? I know that you've asked the leader of the opposition that particular question. He basically seemed reluctant to have protests. He seemed rather afraid of protests. And what we've heard is a bunch of unnecessary, in my opinion, excuses as to why protest actions should not be held under the PPP regime. What's your take on that sort of stance taken by the leader of the opposition?
I disagree with him. I disagree with him. And you know that my policy is that I try not to disagree too much in public with other opposition members, because we're up against a government that is going to use those disagreements to push the knife further down the back of our people. And I am concerned about protecting African people to begin with, because they're the ones that are feeling the brunt of the attack, but protecting working people and protecting Guyanese in general. And so therefore, I am not in the business of attacking fellow opposition people unnecessarily. But I have to say, on this issue of protest, I completely disagree with the opposition leader. No, let me preface that by saying we are dealing, as I said, with a different kind of government. We have not seen this type of government in our post-colonial era. Haiti would have seen these kinds of government under Papa Doc, Baby Doc. We have seen these kinds of vicious governments in parts of Latin America, but we have never seen it in the English-speaking Caribbean. So it's a new kind of government that we are dealing with, a new kind of government. And so therefore, one has to work out how you are going to confront this government. So I give the opposition leader that it is not your normal government, not your normal Burnham government. Takumo Gonze likes to say something that I want to repeat here, that the Burnham police never shoot at him, and the PPP police shot at him twice. So sometimes we do these analysis and these comparative analysis, these comparisons, but we don't get into the nuances. And the nuances, this is a particular form. So I give the opposition leader that. But I also have to quickly say, protest is not a political invention. Protest is as human as anything else. That human beings, by our very nature, we are protest beings. Meaning that as human beings, instinctively, we come up against a barrier, we push back against it. Instinctively, we are socialized as human beings to say no. And to protest is to say no. I think sometimes even before we say yes, we have been socialized to say no. Because yes is said to be normative. No is not as normative. So as human beings, saying no, protest is part of our biosocial makeup. Now, when the notion of government was invented, when this Levitian, as human beings, recognize how to conquer nature, as human beings began to come into conflict with each other, as they discovered that if you get nearer to the water, it is better for agriculture. Now everybody wants to get near to the water. And so conflict became part of social and human behavior. So this thing called government was constructed and created to mediate conflict. And once you invent government, meaning you invent something with overarching authority, then you are also inventing a construction to say no to that government when that government overreaches. So the emergence of government, also concomitant with that, is the emergence of social and political protest. They go hand in hand. Where you have government, you instinctively will have protests. Now, the protest can be managed, the protest can be instinctive, the protest can be partly managed and partly instinctive, but protest is constant because government is constant. So when a political leader or a political organization takes protest off the table, it is going against the human will. It is going against the political grain because it's human to protest and it is political to push back against government. The US Constitution, for example, constitutionalizes protest. That you have a right to protest. That if you don't like a government, that you protest that government. One way.
And the Guyana Constitution also allows for peaceful assembly.
Yes, yes.
Allows for peaceful
the right
protest.
to assembly, right?
And yeah, and so you have this wicked, this corrupt PPP regime that is has been for many years, and there were protests under the bloody Jagdev's presidency, the Phantom Squad, drug lords, killing squads, and so that was a dangerous time to protest compared to now. Your take?
Yes, yes, yes. It was very dangerous, and you would know very much about those times. We look and we saw 400 mainly young black men killed willy-nilly. Those were very, very, very dangerous times. And even then, people found ways of protesting. So I find it so disconcerting that a political party and a political leader will take protests off the table. No,
people are, and activists like us are definitely, we see a view, and I agree with you that protests should never be taken off the table. This is a protest back in 2013 with workers of the Guyana Energy Agency. They were protesting. They picked up placards, and of course, we were there with them. And this was a protest in 2013 again. I noticed somebody saying, Ben Chapway, you don't come home and protest. You're always with those silly sort of talks, but irrelevant. And then this was a protest back in 2013 against the issuing of Jagdev friends and family members of radio and TV licenses. So the protest, and look at this elderly woman, a staunch PNC supporter, I think she died a couple of years ago, right in front of the Chinese embassy, protesting. And this was during some crucial times, some cruel times in Guyana. And this here, confronting the police, this was when Lincoln Lewis, Norris Witt, and I were arrested, and we were dumped into that prison van. And so this was 2009. So the point that I'm making is that protests should never be taken off the table. Should never. This was back when a 17-year-old boy, Shaquille Grant, was shot and killed by the police. Protest actually caused those officers to be arrested. Well, some of them ran away. One of them was shot and killed after he was found robbing some restaurant, some a supermarket on the East Coast. Protest is important. The minute you go to protest, this is what the police would do. But one should never be afraid to protest. There should never be no excuse. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. A lone protester, you guys recognize him, in front of Anil's office in 2011 or 2012, calling for justice. You should never, nobody should ever take protest off the table. It is just not right. Even in the United States, there's protest. And this was protest organized by some of us here. in New York in front of Congressman Meek's office. And now the reason why we're talking about the protests, and you have been on numerous protests as well, Dr. Hines, Wales Estate, and whenever you were in Georgetown, we were there on the picket line. We are protesting. We weren't afraid whether we were going to get locked up, spend 2 nights, 3 nights in Brickdam or whichever police station. We weren't afraid of that at all. We were just out there protesting. So any political leader who's going to take protests off the table, it's time to take a second look. That's just my position. There's no excuse. You can't talk about CCTV camera there, here, and if you protest, to hell with the PPP. The PPP weren't concerned about protesting when they were in the opposition. They did all sort of things. They weren't looking at what the PNC going to do or the coalition going to do. They were out there protesting. And some of them did wicked things while they were protesting. And so I am disappointed that Mr. Aubrey Norton is finding protest or finding excuses not to have protest. Without protest, you can never shake an oppressive regime. That is one of the key elements in removing a corrupt and oppressive regime. Too many excuses. Too many excuses. Dr. Hines?
Yes, Mark, I think it's a failure on the part of the PNC. And I'm going beyond Norton here because, he, whatever you say, he's leading a party. And I think the PNC has never really worked out. You see, when you were in government, as they were for 28 years, you learn nothing about protests. You have to come in the opposition and learn protests because you're in government. And when you come in the opposition, you're looking to get back in government. And so politics become this game. Boy, if I do this, it can cost me some votes here. If I do that, it can cost me some votes. Everything is vote and money. If I do this, them Indian businessmen won't give me money. And I need the money to take. So when you're a party like the PNC, there are all these variables that come into play when you're making a decision about protest. Something that a burden that I don't have or you don't have. So let's be fair to them. They are a political electoral machinery, and they are not about what is morally right. Right? It is morally right to protest. That's what I am arguing. That's what you're arguing. But if you're the PNC, you're not arguing that it's morally right to protest. You're asking, will it cost the PNC vote if we put people on the street to protest? Will the Indians don't give us money? Let's be frank here. All right? I am saying I hear all of that. I'm in sympathy with the PNC on that. I'm in sympathy with my brother Aubrey on that. But I'm saying there comes a time when those things have to be set aside temporarily. Not permanently, because you still got to get money to run the campaign. You still got to find crossover votes to win the elections. But I'm saying when the situation reach this point where things are regular, your people are being beaten up, you can't do nothing about it. The houses are being bulldozed, you can't do nothing about it. Your women are being spat upon, you can't do nothing about it. Your men are being shot in their bed, you can't do nothing about it. At some point, you have to move, there you go. At some point, you have to move from this pragmatic politics to a moral politics. And I'm saying you fight the moral practice today so that tomorrow you don't have to fight it. So I am saying, if 2 years ago I was saying be cautious, after what I have seen since the people come to power over the last 4 years, I cannot sit by and say, take street protests off. I think you have to say, look, I know when take my people on the streets, I'm going to lose some money from the Indian business people. I'm going to be exposing my people to the might of the state. I have some Indian votes that might have come our way. They're now going to step back. But I am prepared to gamble to save the dignity, and in this case, to save the lives and the livelihood of your people. And I'm saying you're not calling street protest as an end in itself. Street protest is a means to an end. As you go onto the street, the government will have to respond. And as it responds, you decide whether you will up the ante or you're going to pull back. But if you don't go on the street, you're really giving the government a blank check to walk over the place like marauders and not be concerned. Thief man, when always looking for see. If somebody get back, they say thief man like see Matty with bag. A thief man always when he go in and thief, he look back. He look back. These thief men, these political thief men that we have in government, they don't have to look over their shoulder. They're thieving and they carry on because they don't have to worry if they're going to be protests tomorrow. They can go to sleep tonight and know that there will not be protests. That is apolitical and it is politically immoral. You have to go to the street. The time has come for that because that is the leverage you have. You can't win anything in parliament. You can go in parliament and you can use parliament as a platform in order to say some things, to expose them, but you're not going to win anything in parliament. The court system takes its time. And even then, our courts are compromised in many ways. Thank God for Justice Kisoon, who has, in a sense, given the court a new lease on life. So, but the court process takes time. That's a form of protest, but it takes time. What are you left with? You are only left with street protests. And your supporters, they are socialized not to protest in silence. Indian people are accustomed to a certain kind of protest. They will come out with their placards, they will burn the cane, they will refuse to take their goods to market, they will give you a higher price than they give others. All those are forms of protest that our Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters, they are different types.
But when you say
African people,
Dr. Hines, if you can stick a pin when you say different type of protest, I recall back in 2002, there was a protest in Albion Village on the quarantine, where a lot of the PPP supporters were upset as a result of the crime wave. Not the crime wave, but there were high crimes in the area, and the police wasn't doing anything in Albion, Tain, not the Tain, Albion, Tain, yes, Belvedere, Hampshire, Nig area, and so forth. And hundreds of PPP supporters, mainly our Indian brothers and sisters, took to the streets.
Yes.
But guess what happened? They almost burnt the magistrate's court down.
Yeah. But remember,
Ronald Godrich up. They almost threw a car, well, they threw a magistrate's car into the trench. So not only that we saw what happened,
but they had the cover of the government in the state there.
They were brutal.
Yeah, but Mark, African people, when you say protest to Africans, the first thing that comes to mind is street protest, because that's how we have been socialized. And I'm talking here sociology. It is more, it's easier to get Africans to go on a street protest than Indians. Let me put it that way. It is not that Indians will never go on street protests, but I'm saying it's easier for Africans to get to think. It's more difficult to get black people to burn cane as a form of protest. It's easier to get Indian people to burn cane. And what I'm saying is that the two communities socialize. So when you look at an African community as the party that is giving the votes, and they have no other way of expressing their anger, and you are telling them that street protests are off the table, you are actually telling them, I am joining to disarm you. Because that's what you're doing them. That's their legitimate armament. Look at what the teachers have been able to do. Look at what the teachers have been able to do.
Street protest. Street
protest. And the union is managing it. I had corrected McDonald. She said they were on the streets for 2 days. They're off for the next 3 days. Next week, they're going to be on for 3 days. And they're going to say which day it is. So, yes, what they're doing is they're saying these people are likely to infiltrate our street protests, but we're not calling it off. We are managing it. And so my message to my brother, Aubrey, and the leaders of the PNC Is that not, we're not saying to call people on the street to let them go there willy-nilly and go and serve them up as sacrificial lamb. We know that once you go there, that the PPP is going to try to infiltrate your march. And if they're going to try to infiltrate your march, train your scouts. Train. In my time when the WPA used to hold marches, we used to get them bad people from Buxton who stopped train, and we used to give them the task of protecting our marches. And they used to love that. Yes, David. Yes, Philly. Good. And you put them in that march, and they were coming up against the might of the Burnham regime, and they would protect that march. And I am saying, no, if you say to your scouts, we are going out, we are protesting, there are going to be people who are going to come and disrupt, and you train them as scouts. I was on the marches after the 2011 elections, well, leading the marches with people like Winston Felix and the former GDF Collins.
Eddie Collins.
We were in front there, and nobody came. And those marches, you're talking about mostly young people, 2,000, 3,000 people. One day on Main Street, a guy came in and they spotty Orly. And they love you to come in the march on Main Street. And they start cutting it tail. Eddie had to go and beg free. Right. Say, all right, let it go. That was the only attempt over a 3-week period of marches. So I'm saying there is a way. So I disagree with Aubrey. I disagree with him.
And they have a lot of Guyanese, regardless of ethnicity. Long gone are the days when our Indian brothers and sisters would blame our African brothers and sisters for crimes during protest. What has happened, because even our Indian brothers and sisters have figured out the PPP, what they do. They ensure that they put agents provocateur in opposition protests to deliberately attack an Indian brother or sister to make it look as though it's and our Indian brothers and sisters, some of the PPP supporters have figured out that that is what the PPP were known for. That is what they have been doing for many, many years. And the PPP has been exposed as it relates to that. Because in 2011, as you recall, they what is it that we had in Guyana? A minority government. Even after street protest and all these different things, the people, our Indian brothers and sisters didn't buy into that lie and the myth by the PPP that look what those PNC people are doing. They're beating up and they're robbing Indian brothers. And that wasn't the case. It was the PPP who were paying thugs to go into the protest to do those sort of things. So in 2011, the people voted against the PPP, hence the minority government. So in 2024, it is worse than then, because even PPP supporters are shaking their head and say they no longer want the PPP in office. And so they themselves are asking, why aren't people taking to the streets? Look at the teachers. A lot of our Indian brothers and sisters, teachers, they led the struggle as well, from Essequibo to Borbis, Quarantine, and these places as well. People want protest, but people need leadership when it comes to the protest.
Yes. And market can be done, I am sure.
Look at that. Look at that. Protest in where? South Korea. Protest. Ajima, Ajashi, Anyazeo, to all of our Korean brothers and sisters. Look at this here. This is Russia. Protest. Mass protest. Take a look. Take a look at what's going on. But in Guyana, we're being told, if we protest, this is what's going to happen. And they get CCTV camera, they get this, and they're going to lock you up. And they get... You know what that does to people? You know what that does to supporters? It breaks their spirit if they're not strong. Especially a leader saying, protest, no. This is what they're going to do to you. This is what they're going to... Come on. As a leader, you got to be prepared to be locked up. You got to be prepared to be confronted by wicked elements in under an oppressive regime. And it is unacceptable for the leader of the opposition to totally rule out protest. It is wrong.
Yeah,
Dr.
yes. No, I think Aubrey needs to review that stance. He has some good arguments why we should be more careful. I am.
Nothing is wrong with being careful. Nothing is wrong
Right.
with
I
that.
am down with him on that. I in my time, I were in some careless protests. All right, and I understand
In
that
your,
when
in
you
your time, younger days,
in my younger days, you
when
know,
Twilly was Twilly.
Right. I understand now if you're going to put 10,000 people on the street, you're responsible for them. And you have to be more careful. But you can be careful to the point where you load protests. We had some picketing exercise. People came into Buxton. Kadaki was the chief organizer a year ago, 2 years ago. And we would be part of those protests. And when the protests are finished, boys from the village will come and say, Twilly or Dr. Hines, my work done, again. And I would say, all right, not knowing what they're talking about. And it's then I realized these are men from the village, boys from the village, who ain't got time with politics. But they hear that we have a protest there, and they take it upon themselves to come out of the road and to be in the shadows and watch on what's going on. And they would see the moles coming out. In one instance, one guy was following me for half an hour. And the guys saw him following me, and they already figure out that he's a PPP mole. And they're moving on him.
Absolutely.
And ask him, why you following this guy for him? And the man handle him.
I
am saying sometimes you don't even have to train people. People in the communities will come out.
Absolutely.
And defend your protesters.
You know, one of the things, and this regime, this corrupt PPP regime has it soft, and they're taking a lot for granted, is because they're not seeing street protests. And the excuses about, what they're going to do when they're going to lock up people, and you come on, stop it. We've been there, done that. To heck with how the PPP feels. But look at what's happening in Georgia right now. Not the state, Georgia, but the country, Georgia. Look at this is happening right now. Do you think their leaders can tell them don't come out and don't this and don't do that? But no, take a look. And many of them are young people. Look at what's happening.
Yeah. I hope Aubrey and the leadership reviews that position. And I think the pressure has to come from inside of the party. We can do as much as we are doing on the outside. I have a cordial relationship with Aubrey. Last night I did not put my view. He was there as my guest, and a lot of people called me afterward and said, David, you should have pushed him more. That's not my style. When I'm on a program like this by myself, I can say I disagree with him. I am going to try to have a private audience with him, but I think it is the people on the ground, the members and the non-members, who have to ask the party to review that position, because it is putting them in Black people are in more danger without protest than they are with protest. All right? I'm not saying that when you go there to protest, you're not facing danger. Of course you're facing danger. But the fact that there's no protest means the police can go in and shoot them and don't care. The police can go in and beat them up and don't care. The police can do anything and don't care. So they're in more danger without protesting than they are protesting. And so therefore, I think we should work on with Brother Norton and try to get him to review that position. It's not a tenable position.
Well, it is. He held a different view when he campaigned, when he ran for leadership of the party. Claudette Singh got to go. There's no word on Claudette Singh. Claudette Singh has never held a press conference. We don't even know whether she's alive or not. Nothing from GCOM. No sustained aggression in terms of ensuring that we have a proper voters list. Every week, once per week, I believe the ladies are out there and some gentlemen, just about 5 or 7 of them, and that's it. Nobody cares. We hardly see any member of parliament heading out there any longer. All we have is Rhonda Lane and a couple other folks. And that's it. It's done. And this is for something as important as the voters list. Cleansing the voters list. But people are hardly out there. The leadership of the party hardly out there. The ones in the central executive, they're hardly out there. You don't see them. It is as though they want to play sweet boy and sweet girl politics. It doesn't work. Look at what's happening right now. Right now, check this out. Freedom, Iran. Look at Iran. They're protesting in their numbers in Iran. But in Guyana, they're being told, don't. They're going to do this, they're going to do that. And if this happens, and this is there, and this there. But you're correct. Not protesting put all of the people of Guyana in harm's way. All of the people. I don't know, Dr. Hines. 10 minutes after, what else going through your mind? You recall Linden. There you are in Linden. This was when the police, this was Hicken. Hicken was the, the commander out there.
Yes, yes.
Your good friend Freddie, and this is, that's us there.
Yes.
That's you right there in that stripe, yellow. And
yes.
I know where you get a t-shirt, that vest from. But
I still have it.
That's you there. And this is where we are confronting the police. We are telling them, look, we are not going to back down. We are going to stand up for the rights of people. And that's I don't know what's going on in there.
And Mark, that protest is a good lesson. You see, sometimes we have to study. And Aubrey, I can't remember if he was very active in that Linden thing. Yeah,
he was there, but he wasn't very active. Yeah,
but we were very early. The people in Linden requested, and we would go up. You were most time the driver, or Lincoln. Lincoln used to drive because you know the highway good. And we would go up there, and we would.
Wait a minute, you're trying to say that I don't know that anyway.
And we would go up there and quietly give those people our support. And the more those people saw the support internally and externally, it gives them. I remember when we would walk in there, you would see people whispering, look, there's Mark, there's David Hines. And people felt good that we would leave Georgetown and go up there and protest with them. And every time we go back, it was bigger. And these were young people. So I'm saying there is an art, some would say a science to protest. That you pick your issue and you ensure that you choreograph it in a particular kind of way. Because you want, once you begin a protest, you want the protest to escalate. And it must, so when you're out there, you must give people the encouragement, those who are standing on the sideline, to come out and join the protest. So protest is not easy. And Aubrey knows the science of protest, which makes it very baffling. You know, I mean, Aubrey Norton was the chief organizer of the largest protest held since 1992. And it was the 1997 to 99 protest by the PNC under Hoyt.
Well, that was also to give credit to the unions that came out in large numbers that sanctioned that protest as well. Aubrey Norton was the general secretary of the party, and so it was a collective effort. As opposed to one, it was a
no. I hear you, and that is why I'm saying when people see others join the protest, it encourages them, and so one has to be very careful and very strategic about how you roll out the thing. I give Aubrey that to say. I am not saying. I'm sure you and the people in the audience are not saying let's go out on the road tomorrow aimlessly. No. You remember when we had the 4 or 5 men, you know, yourself, Lincoln, what's his name, Freddie, Witter, that boy used to be with us, Ramsarup's son. And you remember, you for the most part was the man. We wait at 8, 9 o'clock, Mark calls, Ministry of Finance today.
You're giving away our strategy. I know there were times you guys waiting for that phone call. Hey, we're gone.
And we gone. They don't know when we come in. They don't know tomorrow where we go in and so on. And we were very effective. We didn't need 100 people, 1,000 people, because every time we moved, the media was always there with us. And so the media was putting out there. And that protest eventually led, when you remember we went on the West Bank when they killed that boy at the West Demerara school there, Bank school at Wales. And we went there and we brought those children to live children were prepared to get up and come with us. And the Indian truck driver, they charged that man, roughed that man up and so on. But the point is that we were able to bring those little children to Georgetown, protest, take them back to the West Bank. And the government is going to bring its forces out. You have to expect that. But the thing is an art. And Aubrey knows that art. Aubrey knows that art, the art of protest. Having said that, he's the opposition leader. He's seeing what the rest of us are not seeing. He's talking to people that we may not be talking to. So he has more of a panoramic view. But I cannot think how a panoramic view can lead you to the point where you literally take protests off the table. Not good politics.
Not good politics at all. Protests can never and should never be taken off the table for no reason at all. And that is where you see a weak opposition when they remove protest or find excuses upon excuses for no protest. This was a protest back in 2009, I believe, or 2010. Nobody wanted to go to the Berbice River Bridge, Dr. Hines, and they were charging people $50 just to cross the bridge. And for this, I end up spending a night in the lockups and 4 or 5 charges. And the magistrate at that time, I used to have to travel from Georgetown all the way to Berbice to go to court. The magistrate of Guyanese of East Indian ancestry said that he himself wanted to do what I did. And so he commended me, but of course I had to go to court another 2 or 3 times before the matter was eventually dismissed. And you mentioned earlier about, and this was 2010, this was the truck driver. They impounded the truck driver all because a group of students at that secondary school on the West Bank.
Yes.
The students wanted to protest.
Yes, the students.
And their parents agreed. And so they charged this truck driver, locked up this guy, Money Ram.
Yes, Money Ram. Yeah.
And we protested.
Yeah.
He got his truck back. And so you got to protest.
But Mark, people are raising the point here about leadership. I think it's important. Those people on the West Bank trusted Mark Bishop, David Hines, Freddie Kissoon, Lincoln Lewis, that they were sending their children to come to Georgia. You see, leadership and fellowship have to gel. That's when protests become vibrant. The people have to trust you, and you in turn have to inspire them. So the leadership must inspire, and the people must trust. That's why I love Coretta McDonough. I don't care what nobody says about her. She inspires our teachers, our troops, and they in turn trust her. Now, they may not trust all the teachers' executive, but they know at least one person in that executive is not going to sell them out. And so they trust her, and she inspires them. So protest is about leadership inspiring people and people trusting the leadership. Trusting the leadership, that synergy is important. And, I don't think that I have to teach PNC leaders that. I think that's politics 101, protest 101.
It's protest 101. It's politics 101, of course, Dr. Hines, but sometimes we have to wonder why this position. I don't know. I can't understand, and there's no plausible excuse. I don't care who's whispering in whose ears, whether ExxonMobil is whispering in anybody's ears or overseas base folks whispering in whose ears. I don't care. Protest is a main tool, a main component in ensuring that you're holding any oppressive regime accountable. And it's unfortunate that we're not seeing that. This was a protest at the dump site, Mandela Avenue dump site. Nobody wanted to go out. Nobody wanted to do anything. But guess what? 3 persons were there, and you could tell from how they're holding their nose, right?
Oh, stink it was.
Yep, it was horrible. Without protest, there will not be change. And anyone who's against protest, and you're correct, Dr. Hines, nobody's saying that there should be protests to go and break up anything. Nobody wants to break up. Nobody wants to destroy the country. But when you don't protest, you're destroying people's mindset. You're destroying people's dignity in exercising their constitutional rights. Protest is a constitutional right. And nobody should take that away from you. Absolutely no one.
Yeah, and Mark.
I noticed sometimes, one moment, please, sir. I noticed somebody saying that I still don't hear you speaking anything about Venezuela building a floating bridge in our country. Now, if the corrupt PPP regime don't give a damn about what's happening at our borders, they're ignoring everything. They're not speaking about it. In fact, this is what Irfan Ali is doing, and y'all should ask Irfan Ali, this is why y'all should protest, shut the country down, all over, demanding that the regime pay careful attention to what's happening at the Venezuela border. Instead, they're not doing that. Guess what they're doing? Guess what they're doing? This is what they're doing. This is what Irfan Ali is doing. And then y'all saying that y'all not hearing us talking about anything? Y'all should go out and protest Irfan Ali to stop pushing things in these soldiers' mouth and let them go out and protest. Everybody should protest and shut the country down, calling on the corrupt PPP regime to do something about what's happening, the disrespect of Guyana. Don't think that two American warplanes flying over Georgia, zing, zing. And meanwhile, look at what is happening at the border. And not a thing from Irfan Ali. Instead, what we get from Irfan Ali, forget about Jack Dale. All he could do is whine and cuss up. But all we ever get from Irfan Ali is this.
How we gonna do a body man walk right now? You ready? Fuck, so let me go now. Reminiscing now. Body walk, everything. Body walk, truck, body.
Take him to the border and let him do the Godi walk. Godi walk. Dr. Hines, you are making a point. My apologies.
No, I was making the point that, look, I mean, the PNC has the capacity to get intelligence. Meaning, if the police is planning, the government is planning with the police, then you are the PNC. You have that capacity, because I can't believe that the PNC would not have its own moles and spies in these institutions that can give them information. I am not calling anybody name, but when we used to run our operation on the East Coast, when we planning a protest, we would know when the police are massing up at Cove and John. The policemen and women, I'm not calling anybody name, it's people who we went to school with. So when I call me friend, we went to school with, and he give me the intelligence. And we give the intelligence that we're going to be having the protest at Annandale, that we're planning the protest at Golden Grove. The next morning, they're going at Annandale, we then Golden Grove. So what I'm saying is that I cannot believe that the PNC would not have intelligence to fool the police and so on. That is all part of politics. Yes, you have to be concerned about the state. But if you are the PNC, just as the state is trying to infiltrate you, I assume that you're trying
exactly.
to state.
I don't know if, and you're right, Dr. Hines. I don't know if you infiltrate the state.
Of course.
I recall they surrounded my office in Georgetown, telling me that they're looking for me because I stole state documents and secret documents from the state. They surrounded my office, say they want to arrest me because I stole state documents, secret documents from office of the president. And the point that I'm making is I was innocent. I don't steal those documents. But you are right. There are lots of people right now in the Guyana police force, wherever they are, would love to share information.
Of course.
Because they themselves don't like what is going on. They don't like what is going on.
Mark, I was late for a meeting at Critchell Labor College, and I beat in the road, driving fast. The police behind me. Oh, I said, Jesus, Lord God, no. I got to get me excuse here ready. But the police pull up alongside me. I say, officers are late for a meeting. And that's why I was driving fast. No, Dr. Hines, you are right. What we want to stop you is to give you some information, because we know it's a meeting you're going to give you some information about what happened in the police force. You know, I am saying that You, when I listen to the opposition, in effect, what they're telling us is they're helpless. And I am saying
that is look, nobody hates Aubrey. We love Aubrey. We love Aubrey. And I do intend to have a discussion with the leader of the opposition. And this is not to some of the Aubrey people out there, y'all don't think that anybody is against your leader. At least I'm not. All I'm saying is that taking protest off the table and the excuses is unacceptable. It is not adding up. And you cannot remove a government and leave protest off the table. Governments shake. I've had some foreign diplomats pull up next to me and say, hey, Mark, we saw you in front of Brick Dam protesting, or we saw you in front of a particular embassy, whether it's the Venezuelan or the Cuban or wherever, protesting or in front of a police station. Keep it up. I mean, that is the sort of encouragement. And these things happen. You cannot take it off the table. Mr. Aubrey Norton, if you're watching, stop chickening out when it comes to protest. You got into office because you told the people that the previous opposition leader, they weren't doing anything. They were just writing press releases and they were this. Mr. Norton, you've got to keep your campaign promise. Story done. Take to the streets. They got the voters list. You got to take to the streets. You got to demand changes in a nice, peaceful way. Nobody's saying anybody gonna broke up things like what the PPP did when they're protesting. No, protest is important. And I hope the leader of the opposition revisit his, and he has been at this for over 2 years now. And it's driving, you know what? It's not only driving his excuses and not only driving fear, it's weakening the opposition. I don't know, Dr. Hines?
No, I just want to say in closing that I take the same position. I am not a member of the PNC, but I consider myself a member of the large opposition, and I've had a good relationship with Norton. Our relationship go way back when we were at UG 40 odd years ago. At that time, it was cactus and pepper between WPA and the PNC. But Aubrey and so on, we have cordial relationships because we were all young students, among other things. And then later on, about 20 years ago, we reconnected. By that time, the PNC was in opposition. And so we are fairly good friends. We disagree on some issue, and we disagree on this issue. And, I am voicing my disagreement publicly, but not as a way to weaken Aubrey's position, because I think we need a strong opposition leader. We need strong opposition leaders. And I am not going to bring down an opposition leader because I disagree with him. But by the same token, if I think that the position that he's taken is leading to more danger for our supporters, I have to think, and I am not a collateral damage person. Meaning, I am not going to say, look, boy, in order to get 500 Indian votes, I'm prepared to throw a couple of black people under the bus, the police lick shot on them. And I ain't gonna say nothing because I may lose a 200 Indian votes. No, I am not that kind of opposition. I will try to do both. I will try to hold me 200 Indian vote and defend the life and the dignity of people who look like me. For me, it's not one or the other. And if you hold a gun to my head and say 200 votes or black people life, I'm going to say, that's easy for me. Black people life, keep your 200 votes. That's where I stand. I will do both. And if you hold a gun to my head, I will tell you things. On the day of the bridge of the shooting, he was asking Norton and me, Ikin, he was asking Norton and me to go on the bridge and get the people off the bridge. And Norton and I told him, we are not leading the protest. We are here to give solidarity. If you all want the people on the bridge to move, go and talk to them. Don't come to me and Norton and tell me to go to talk to people on the bridge. And that was when I first got an inkling that day that they were going to move on the people that night. Because Mr. Ikin kept pleading with me and Aubrey, please, can you all go talk to the people and get them off the bridge? And both North and I said, we did not put the people there, and it's not our place to get them off the bridge. Just to say that we are not just come, Mark, you know, we've been around this thing for a while.
Been around it for a while indeed. One of these days, and I keep talking, and you got to write books too, Dr. Hines. But
yes.
The whole Linden situation, there's a lot to be talked about, and maybe one day in a book. I know who wasn't really for the protest and who wanted things to die down quickly, and some pussycats. I know some pussycats are still. You're right. You're laughing, Dr. Hines. You're laughing. You remember that day that we shut that bridge down for almost 4 to 5 hours?
4 to 5 hours. Yes. I remember. Yeah, it's always a pleasure, Mark, to share the platform here with you. And let's keep the struggle and let's try to see.
Before we go, Dr. Hines, I want to get your opinion on this cartoon by Stabroek News.
Oh, son, me beg you. Oh, Lord, Guyana's future. You know,
you see what's on the gun there, right? Crime.
Yes.
What's your take? Stabroek News cartoon.
One has to be sensitive about these things. While in theory, Stabroek News may be trying to alert us to what could happen down the road, images are very, very thin. And that's the image of a black man, you know? And you know, you and I have dealt with this. We were only talking about it the other day.
Yes.
When there was a certain editorial in the Chronicle that said we are socializing young black men to be thief men and criminals and so forth. And remember, 3, 4 of us, 5 of us, we took up that matter and we took it to the streets and we got hundreds of Chronicle and took them to the Square of the Revolution and burned them.
Yep.
And this is a dangerous cartoon. I understand in theory what they're saying, but you see, when you don't take certain things seriously, I try to tell Guyanese, please take race seriously. You don't have to bawl about it from the mountaintop every day like me, but it's a real thing. So when I, as a black man, look at this cartoon, I understand the intellectualism behind it. But then when I look at the picture of a black man and you say, with a gun in your hand, and say, that's Guyana's future, my emotions begin to boil. And the emotion of black people, you know, but this is irresponsible. And they can only be irresponsible because they think race is not real. Or
Dr. Hines, thus far, no one has written to the ERC to complain about this. Were I in the ground in Guyana, I'd spend not a cent to purchase Stabroek News until Stabroek News apologizes. What is your take on apologizing?
Yes, I think I am now being drawn to it. I had not seen it. I don't necessarily look for cartoons in the newspaper, and I have to start doing that. You know, I'm an old timer. I go to the letters pages first, then I go to the sports page second, then I go to the columns, and then I go to news, because by the time I get the paper in a couple of hours, I already know the news. So the news is the last thing. But I don't look for cartoons. And at Stabroek News, I like to read their editorial. So that's very on my list. This is unacceptable.
Unacceptable, but we have to do something about it. We have to write to the ERC, and this is where the opposition stepped in, and maybe the members of parliament and these people. What about AGDA? What about IPADA-G and all these other African organizations? Have they seen this? Can they take up this cause?
I don't think they have, you know. And I usually say to my PNC friends, look, you all are a big party. You all got staff. The first thing you all should get is 1 or 2 people. And their job every morning is to read the newspaper. You can put one person to monitor Chronicle, one to monitor Stabrook News, and so on. But they go through the paper, pick up things like these, and draw it to the attention of people like you and me, and so on. Because a lot of time we don't have the time. But if you are a staff, the PNC should have, as part of his war room, checking the newspapers, checking the opposition sites to pick up things like this and then get it to me and you and others so that we can run with it. That is part of protest and war.
Whenever I run through these newspapers online, I read everything from death announcement to classified ads, and I miss absolutely nothing. I try not to. I scanned them through quickly, and when I saw this, immediately, I knew that this was wrong. This is racist. And shame on the Stabrook News for this. They need to apologize, but they cannot apologize if we do not protest.
That's right. Right. And they would not start off thinking it's racist. They would think it's normal, because you know people think that crime and black people are synonymous, including some of our own black people. So there's a way in which the society normalizes blackness and criminalizes blackness. And when we say it, they call us racist. But this is what they're doing in claiming that, well, it's a colorblind society. As they usually say in America, well, the truth of the matter is that black people commit more crime than other ethnic groups. Yes, black people commit more crime than other ethnic groups. But you all are making the things that they're committing crime. So white people use coke. That is not criminalized. Black people use crack. You criminalize crack. You give more big sentence for crack. They go into jail and you say, look the numbers. When you are the ones who criminalize crack and marijuana, and then the one that the other people smoking, you uncriminalize that. So you get more time in jail for cocaine and marijuana. And then you turn and say, well, black people commit the most crime. It's you are creating the crimes.
Absolutely, but then look at this again, a gun with the word crime on it.
That's it.
Black youth.
Black youth.
And, say Guyana's future. How, and Agda is quiet, Ipadaji is quiet.
I don't think they know, Mark. I don't think they know. I am telling you, I don't think they know. The last thing anybody would go into a paper is look for cartoon. That's what I'm saying. The organization should have people monitoring these things. And sometimes I say, Mark, how you just find these things? Because a lot of times I have to see things like this on your program. But I'm saying AGDA, the PNC, they are the big organizations. They got staff. Create a war room.
Yep, they do need that. And this is not just they find time to attack each other on social media.
No.
Find time to look at these things.
That's right.
Somebody could have already written to the ERC.
That's right.
Ipadaji and AGDA, and even the opposition should stand up against this, because this is wrong. This is wrong. You know what this is doing to black youths in Guyana, African youths in Guyana? It's criminalizing them. It's saying that this is their future. This is their future. A gun and crime.
And crime.
Unacceptable. Shame on the Stabrook News. I wouldn't spend a cent until they apologize. But maybe we can talk about this sometime tomorrow and have a letter sent to the ERC on this, signed by some other folks. Dr. David Hines, always a pleasure to have you on board. I know you feel on board. Sorry, I know you feel a way that 21 Cuban engineers headed to Guyana to help revitalize the sugar industry. What's it?
Hey, boy. Oh, I will there, Panam.
I know.
But I think we are able and capable, and we can see this thing through. If the leadership that is elected by election and doing it, we have to find alternative forms of leadership.
Absolutely. Can't go wrong with that. Lots of people. Please, guys, y'all have to share this here. This is a racist cartoon. Shame on the Stabrook News. Shame on the Stabrook News. Shame on them. And we've got to call on them to apologize and pull this cartoon down. They've got to do that. But I hope the African organizations, I don't know what they're doing, Ipadaji and AGDA, and I don't know, and and 16, what is it? And all these
Coffee
different
250.
Coffee 250. I don't know what's going on, Dr. Hines, but as always, thank you so much for your time. I know you're just waiting for I press the button to tell you goodbye.
I get a cook up on slow.
I know.
Fire.
I realize
fire. I sniffing, I start smelling, but I ain't smelling bun yet.
I know what's going on. I see you, you're there, you can't.
Yeah.
I'm deliberately holding you back.
I get it with loud sal beef, pigtail, and tripe, but it up on slow fire. And I smell the bun yet.
Slow fire. Yeah, you gotta watch out the PPP gonna say Dr. Hines calling. This time is
yes, I get like this, man. Right now, slow fire, more fire.
But don't ever announce pigtail cook up when you're cooking, because you know we had a friend who belly guts long, love pigtail cook up. You know it's who? I call him Freddie. I'm not calling Freddie Kistoon's name on this show. I'm not gonna. Dr. Hines, thank you so much.
It's only 2 pieces of pigtail you put in this thing. Now what's wrong with you? You gotta put more pigtail on this thing here. You giving back Ben Shop and David Hines more pigtail because he's not a black man. I black more than them. Put more pigtail there.
Freddie Kistoon. I'm not. I might surprise some people, but I don't. I'm not into.
I miss him. I miss him.
I know. But did I give you the joke when he was crying in Brickdam Lockup?
I heard you.
Proper cry, Freddie Kistoon. Proper cry in Brickdam Lockup. Proper cry. Them boys were prepared to give him pigtail.
Mark again.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate your time.
All right, my brother. Thank you for having me. Yes.
Welcome. Yeah. Dr. David Hines there for you guys, and my name is Mark Benchop. He's rushing off to cook his to finish up his pigtail cook-up, and I gotta rush off because I got roti to clap. Hey guys, the boycott in Brooklyn continues, and hold back your money. Don't spend your money with enablers. They at some point in time they gotta come to apologize. And for the Stabrook News has to apologize. Walk past the Stabrook News in terms of spending your money as well. They've got to apologize as well. All right, hey, out of here. David Hines gone for his pigtail cook-up, and Freddie Kistoon missed the clapping in Brickdam Lockups. I'm not sure. I think they might have been clapping. I'm being a bit naughty, but I'm out of here. God bless you all. See you all tomorrow. Same place, same time. And the Venezuelans, they're going across. They're chipping into Guyana. And the corrupt PPP regime, they aren't doing anything. They are not saying anything at all. They're quiet. Is there a deal that they have right now? That guy that they sent to Venezuela as ambassador, what's his name? Dr. Richard Van Westjaars, quiet as a mouse. He can't even say meow. The minute he does that, just watch. They're sending him back to Guyana. They're going to pack him up and send him back to Guyana. Mark my word. Look, there's a prison escapee by the name of Awad. He escaped from the Luzignan prison. He got away. He didn't escape. Here what's going to happen. He's going to turn himself in by tomorrow. Just watch out. Watch the news. He's going to turn. Just shake the bowl. He's going to turn himself in by tomorrow. He got away, and that's it. He ain't going nowhere. I got to go. Love you guys. God bless you, and God bless our beautiful country. Mwah. Bye-bye. Protest is a must. Aubrey Norton, good night to you, sir. Protest is a must. Story done. Bye-bye.
Yeah, my name is Jasniti Kaldata from CC Vietnam. And since 1965, I become a voter. And I always place my ex next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by 1 vote, they're losing it by data.
don't want you. Because we excited to see you here. You're coming.
Hold on. You got the roti? You got to be kidding me.
You make it roti, don't worry.
Oh, Lord.
You used to make roti when he was 5.
But let me see if you can clap.
You got shake now. You got
Shake.
Shake it in.
This is clap. All right.
This is the modern way.
Okay.
Look, sweetheart, this is it.
All right.
Let's see how you shake it. Palmer Steve roti, the best roti in Brooklyn. Hey, not so.
Take responsibility. We want you to look out for us. We do not want no segregation. No. We are one people. And if we're going to do it, let's do it together. Because we have respect for you. Thank you.
Yes, they're singing. Ching, ching, ching. In the back. See for mama. Get 10 fat chicken. And she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she muggle like a chow. Oh, small days is still on me mind. Small days is a good time. Never had so little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance, that's really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like the roses, all you need, bright and shining, you must be, and show me the one, love the best. When I marry, I give you the ring. First the girl, second the boys, Sunday, Monday, afternoon, we will spend the honeymoon. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Never some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance, let's really admire them. Join the singing. Old man house on fire. The old man ran away. He ran for the police to get the water. The only fire down there. Escalated, shoot, shoot, shoot. Escalated, shoot, shoot, shoot. And now wipes the lady face. The lady wipes the lady face. And she fell down, and she fell down, and she fell in the ocean too. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Never some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance, let's really admire them. Hear them singing? Children, children, yes, mama. Where you been? Grandmama. What she give you? Bread and cheese. Where is mine? On the shelf. How me go get them? I'm on the chair. So what's the call? Peanut cake.